Jesus, I haven't even blasted off yet. And we just found out like a million things happened. Holy shit. Oh, it's too much. It's too much. Too much is going on. I'm so fucking tired. I'm so tired. I'm so red. I look like I have a Mexico filter on my broadcast almost, but it's not a Mexico filter. It's like a 70s filter. Oh. And we're at level 9, Golden Kappa train. We're about to hit level 10. Anyway, all right. Let's blast off. Sean Hannity goes off on Maylot Kiros. Oh, yeah. What a fucking time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Speaking of you and Fox News, you were on it?
Hiker.
Bro, Trump is going to put me in fucking prison. I swear to God. What the hell is going on? Back in LA, socialism wins in Denver. Hogwatch. SCOTUS defends birthright. Sanctions on ICAP were only introduced June 6, 2026. Rubio is Satan incarnate. Do you smoke Denver weed? No. Everyone's trying to talk to Zoran. So, Professor Jung on stream later. Denims beats frivolous DMCA lawsuit launched by Zionist podcaster H3. Professor Jung on later. Get in now. Okay. Do we hit level 10? I haven't been paying attention. Do we have another blast off meme? I don't give a fuck about the Empire State, dude. I don't give a fuck about the Empire State. I'm sorry. Holy shit. The more your candidates win, the more they'll target you. I know. Steve Weigel had a really funny and really good interview with our boy Abdul El Sayed, by the way. That was fire. I know it's an Instagram link, but the McMorrow of Wisconsin has condemned you. Nice. We're about to hit fucking 1930s Germany if we haven't already hit it, and these dumb fucks are still fucking complaining about. These dumb fucks on the Democratic Party side are still complaining about people that the Trump administration is actively targeting. And they're also taking advantage of that active targeting because they also don't like us. Great. Ay. My Smosh vid is out too. Jesus Christ. Too much going on. All right. Obviously, I'm going to play in honor of carrying the flame, as always, once again. Let me blast off, and then we'll carry the flame right after. Where do I begin? Where do I freaking begin? Holy shit. All right, let's do it. Bro, you look like you're about to yak. I'm tired, man. I didn't sleep a lot. I didn't sleep at all, actually, last night. I just couldn't sleep. I was too excited. And then I got on a flight early in the morning. I got back home. And then I take a shower. I go live. And then I get hit in the face with, I'm on Smosh. My Smosh video's out. Denims wins her lawsuit against H3H3. Turns out the State Department is like actively pursuing some group that I guess like was also a part of the humanitarian aid mission that we did in Cuba that I didn't even know about. And it's like probably not the best sequence of news and events to hear about in succession. Especially considering that I was, kind of oblivious to what was going on. But here's Charlie. Here is carrying the motherfucking flame, ladies and gentlemen. Short time lapse of people across Denver thanking Hassan for inspiring them to get more politically involved and helping the Milot Kuros campaign. And remind that Twitter isn't real life. We will continue. What a night. What a night it was. What a night it was. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, what a day. What a night. I'm gonna do more canvas stuff. I think I'm just gonna freestyle it like we did, because like one of the issues when you're door knocking is you don't want to obviously like film people that don't want to be filmed at their homes. So I realized that the way we did it yesterday was really good, really impactful, really successful, and I think part of that was I mean, bringing you guys in to the process is always like bringing you guys into the process is always fun, is always good, and I think it's always valuable, right? Whether it be urging you to do phone banking or even canvassing in general. I think it's cool to see it in action, right? So I found it to be very successful overall. I mean, it's clearly, you came up in a convo about Hong on Wisconsin morning radio.
Headline in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel making big headlines across the country, getting a lot of attention. Here's the headline directly read from the story by Hope Carnop, Journal-Sentinel reporter. Hong appears on stream with Hassan Piker, who has said U.S. deserved 9/11. Your take on what that means for her campaign?
Well, she raised a lot of money out of it. And
Ultimately, I think that's why she did it.
definitely why she did it.
That's why she did it. Or maybe, unlike you boomers at 620 WTMJ, Wisconsin's radio station, which I'm always willing and able to go on. Like most people understand that that's that kind of like old school, oh, this person said something in 2019 and he should be forever yelled at over it. It doesn't work like that anymore.
I mean, I think between that and I guess there was a different, I had never heard of this other person who's, what was it? There was another person, Mike from PA.
Yeah. R.I.P. Mike from PA. That one soundbite, they're gonna use that against Michael from Taiwan for the rest of his life. Okay. Unk is forever gonna get cooked for that one. You got mentioned by Tim Heidecker, my op. Yeah. If that's the standard, the media should always say President Trump, who raped E. Jean Carroll, just released a statement. Yeah. I mean, that's never gonna, first of all, it's a pretty bad soundbite law. No, I know. Dude, I know. I didn't defend it. It was crazy. Okay. It's just that like I don't think Michael is what do you call it? Like an anti-Semitic person at all. I don't think he is. Like I don't even remember what it was. I think he either misspoke or he just got he went nutty mode with it. But like, we're live streamers, we're live broadcasters. Like if anyone is like an actual anti-Semitic person, like it's not going to be one clip. Like that's just so dumb. You know what I mean? Yeah. When he said like demonic, he says honest word, demonic raise was pretty fucking bad, man. No, I know it's indefensible. I'm just saying that like, you guys watch me. I'm a live streamer. You know this sphere. You know how this stuff works. I think like at the end of the day, if someone harbored this kind of attitude across the board, like unconditionally, and this is not a defense of that statement, right? It's indefensible. But like, there would probably be more, right? There would probably be more moments that you can point to, right? You've never said anything remotely that bad. I have not, but it doesn't matter, right? Like people will chop it up and do everything in their power to like fucking turn around and make it seem like there's a convincing case. This guy, Morg Absolute, hate Mike from PA, and even I can say he misspoke and apologized to media smears. Yeah. Are you going to react to how normal the human interactions you had on Smosh were? Sure. Later. Anyway. Boomers trying to comprehend like what's going on. Boomer's trying to comprehend what's going on in this side of the media sphere. The media ecosystem is so funny to me, always. WTMJ is right-wing radio. I love that.
Have campaigned with Hassan Piker. He is I don't know if you want to say he is a similar character as Charlie Kirk for the left.
He's extreme.
As far as things, he streams like 6 hours a day. He's been in the public eye for, I remember first hearing about Hassan Piker when he was still with the Young Turks. So that was 2015, 16, 17. So there's a lot of tape, as they say, for this guy's things that he has said.
Asmongold says you started wearing suits to be more like Nick Fuentes. Guy who's only watched one political commentator. Guy who's only watched one movie, and the movie happens to be Boss Baby. Wow. The Schindler's List movie. I'm getting a lot of Boss Baby vibes from the Schindler's List movie. Only guy in the political commentary sphere that famously wears a suit, invented suit wearing. Yeah. This political commentator wearing a suit giving another political commentator who is a neo-Nazi who wears a suit, who happens to be the only political commentator that wears a suit. Yeah. Expand your horizon. Okay. Expand your horizon. If anyone has influenced me to wear a suit, it's Kyle motherfucking Kalinske. Okay. Asmo Button goes to an office. Man, there are a lot of Nick Fuentes fans dressing like him in this office. I went down to Wall Street and I was shocked to see how many people were dressed exactly like Nick Fuentes. I tuned into CNN and everyone was wearing a suit. They must all be getting influenced by Nick Fuentes. Yeah, this lady clocked my ass. She said, I've known about him since the Young Turks, and it's obvious that he's not putting in the same level of effort any longer. A 6-hour broadcast, half day Hossie, except yesterday was like 10 hours, right?
Over the years. And so he also has an audience of like 3 million people. And especially the people who I think subscribe to Hassan and the overlap with people who are fervent about Hong and her policies overlap a lot. So on the one side, it's hard for me to criticize this too much when we just were saying yesterday and giving flowers to J.D. Vance for going on Bill Maher, who's also said some controversial things over the years.
Yeah, OG 9/11 Andy, by the way, ironically enough, like that's the OG 9/11 Andy.
That like you either agree that people should be having conversations with everyone, even when you don't agree with the people that you're talking to, and that appearing on someone's show doesn't co-sign everything that they say, or you don't. Right. And I think I stand on the side that that's what this show is about. We try to have conversations with lots of different people we don't always agree with, and that further understanding only happens through conversation, and the conversation doesn't mean that you agree on everything. So I think it's you either believe in that or you don't, that you can't pick and choose it, because who's the arbiter then of who's too extreme to have a conversation with and who's not?
Yeah, I don't.
The pattern on your suit moves awkwardly on camera. I know when it's too small. Go on this local radio show? I would, yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with that point because we made that very point on this show. I think where people will question it is people now have ballots in hand. Early voting has started. I just got mine in the mail. Is this a smart decision by a candidate who many times have been called the front runner for Democrats, and smart people like Joseph Becky said that's probably not true, but I guess we're going to find out for real in a few months, not even a few months, 1 month. It is something that you can look at, from 40,000 feet and say, is that a smart move by a candidate in the state of Wisconsin?
Well, I'm not sure caution has been a bedrock of Fran Hong's campaign, right?
No.
Like this is.
Yeah, I think none of this stuff matters. I think what matters is what you're going to do for people. Okay? I think what matters at the end of the day is what you will do for people. It's that simple. What are the policies? Are you a real one? That's all people care about. Okay? What are the policies? How are you going to help me out? And are you actually real or are you fake? That's all Americans care about. Okay? Like, that's what voters should care about, and that's what most voters do care about. And for someone like Francisca Hong, like, her honesty comes from her moral conviction, her courage to say the truth about certain issues that other politicians have shied away from, her consistent advocacy on certain fronts, her lack of interest in backing down. Right? That's it. And what's strange to me is that these people don't get it. And I've been saying this for years. That's what's so funny about it. Like, it's almost like there's a post-Zoran universe that we live in now and a pre-Zoran universe, right? Before Zoran, I always said to run campaigns exactly in the way that Zoran ran his. It's not like I decided, oh, it's successful because Zoran won with that. That's what I used to tell the DNC. That's what I told every politician that would listen to me, right? Like, this isn't a new concept. It's actually a very basic and very old school concept. It's called democracy, okay? It's identifying the needs of your constituents and then showing them that you will earnestly fight for them. It's that fucking simple. The funniest part about this, what is this? You catch a hilarious story in this video essay around timestamp 250.
Slurs telling a
What is this? Is Zootopia pro-segregation?
predator that only bunnies can call other bunnies cute.
You are even cuter than I thought you'd be.
Ooh, you probably didn't know, but a bunny can call another bunny cute, but when other animals do it, it's a little...
I am so sorry.
But again, if prey are a white majority, cute is less the N-word and more... It's not really a word with any kind of heft to it, unless you're a socialist on Twitch. Side note, it's really...
That's fucked up. Yeah, no, Skip and Show's dope. I feel called out, which is true. I did get clapped for that, if you recall. Anyway, speaking of candidates that made promises and delivered on them, let's start our journey. Let's go back to yesterday. And not the victory, but let's walk through the experience. Now, you guys already saw, the handshakes and whatnot, all that beautiful stuff. But there's one aspect of yesterday's experience that I keep going back to. So, we did a canvas lead. We did the last canvas of the day. Chris Rabb, myself, Linda Sarsour, the GOAT, right? The legend. And we went out to an underserved neighborhood in Denver that was surrounded on all parts by factories and a newly developed data center, right? And we were walking around. A lot of people were not home, right? We had some fun conversations. But this was a really interesting moment. There was these people driving around, going to get groceries, and they noticed this big crowd and also a guy with a camera, and they stopped by, right? So we started talking to them, and we gave them campaign lit. You can see it here, right? And it was a very interesting conversation.
Think about the data center that just popped up over here.
We hate
Yeah,
it.
that
Yeah.
random
We hate it.
All right, listen. So, Diana DeGette, this represented this district for 30 years in Congress, is saying nothing about the data centers because she's in the pocket of big corporations. Maylard Kuros, on the other hand, is going to fight back on the data center moratorium. She got endorsed by Bernie Sanders, too. They want to put a stop to these data centers being getting propped up left and right. You guys are stuck between a factory, Purina factory, and a data center in between. And that's not good for these little guys back there.
Poison. It's literally poison.
Yeah.
This district's poison.
But you only have till 7 o'clock to vote.
So if you don't have, do you have a ballot in your house currently?
Yes.
Yeah, you
I
gotta,
have 3.
you gotta put it in a drop box.
Oh, you got 3 voters in your house?
Yeah.
Yo, that.
Okay. Drop them off.
Hell
Drop 'em
yeah.
off.
There's one in Philly.
I'm going to Congress in Philly.
We just
I
let
came all the way out because you have the opportunity to.
Are you from New York?
Huh?
He's from Philly.
Philly.
She's from New York.
Yeah. You know, East Coast.
New York,
East Coast.
East Coast. Well, you have the opportunity to bring someone to Congress who's actually going to change things and not not be with the corporations, but be with the people. But only if you come out. So if you got 3 ballots at home, drop it in by 7 o'clock.
And if you're confused by the names on the ballot or whatever, because like there's so many names, and it's like somewhat intimidating. There's a DSA thing, right? There's a DSA.
Dude, look at Chris. He is a dynamo, man. He is a goddamn dynamo. I mean, watching him in action, it makes sense as to why they defeated the Philly machine, the Philadelphia Democratic Party machine. That man does not stop. You guys doing neighborhood canvassing without a list is insane, Lamau. No, we had a list. There were a lot of, we knocked on a bunch of doors, but there were a lot of people that were they weren't home. So we were just fielding people, having fun with it. Yeah, you guys did the OG shit of just grabbing randoms. Yeah. But it worked out. Abolitionist organizer difference. Yeah. I mean, he's such a Chad.
A DSA ballot guide.
Too. You have to remember, this is the pre-Van era. You used to just grab a list of voters without knowing much. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've done the Van stuff. I've done that for Bernard, right? Like I have some experience door knocking and canvassing. And it's this is the OG. This is the OG initiative because it's not very productive, There's no you have to have a level of confidence. You have to maximize on your impact. You have to maximize on the number of doors you're knocking on. But obviously, for us, I mean, I was there with the legends. I mean, I was there with Linda Sarsour and Chris Rabb. Nate Bluen came in afterwards too. Chris Rabb is confidently bald, and that's why he's unstoppable. I think he's just confident, not just confidently bald. He's just confident in every way, shape, and form. The man does capoeira. We don't have another person in Congress. I can say that confidently. You know what I mean? There's no one else in Congress that can do capoeira. Speaking of capoeira, I will be, when Chris is in LA, I'm going to try to get him to teach me how to do some tricks. We're going to try to make it happen. He's going to be in LA for a little bit coming up, and we're going to try to do an IRL where he just shows me a couple moves. You know what I mean? I'm very excited. Anyway, that's a secret. You know what? I'm leaking it. New capoeira filibuster tech about the drop. Dog, you're going to hurt yourself. Please stretch first. Yes. I'm a numbers guy. Yeah, Michael from Pennsylvania was right again. A few people saw that I got the New York City DSA slate predictions dead on, accurate, and wanted to see my predictions for Mail-Out Kuros. Here it is. Mail out by 10 to 15. Yeah, you also were wrong about Julie Gonzalez, though. You said Julie Gonzalez was going to be a marginal 1-point victory over Hickenpooper. I mean, you were right, though. You were dead on this one. Look, I place a lot of confidence in your predictions. I respect it. You cooked on it. ABC News, California Governor Gavin Newsom has been in touch with Zohran Mamdani. They texted each other as recently as last week. Yeah. It's got to be so funny. If you're one of these centrist neoliberals, you got to be on fucking straight up suicide watch, right? If you're a centrist, if you're one of these centrist Twitter accounts and you're watching all of these figures that you didn't even know why you were defending, but you were defending unconditionally because you thought that that represented like the moderate position in the party. Kamala Harris is trying to reach out to Zoran Mamdani. Gavin Newsom is trying to reach out to Zoran Mamdani. That's got to be a real moment of crisis for you, right? If you're one of those guys that's like, my whole life is defending the Democratic Party, and meanwhile, all of these figureheads that you've wanted to defend, all of these figures that you've wanted to defend are now chasing after my guys, our guys, okay? It turns out some of them are smart enough to recognize where this movement is going and want a piece of it, okay? Which is not bad. It's not bad. I mean, it's cynical, it's desperate, and maybe it's amoral as well if you want to consider it that. But it's not the worst, okay? So most of them are doing the "you are here" meme, unironically. Yeah. So where was I? What was I going to say? Oh, so yeah. That moment was really important, I think. That moment, that outreach moment was really good. It's educational, right? And the reason why I say that is because it proves once again that there are so many people out there who are just simply never heard from, right? Especially in neighborhoods that have been left behind, neighborhoods that are surrounded by factories, neighborhoods that are underserved by design and struck with poverty. Okay? And these people would go out and vote. It's just they've never been talked to, right? There are so many people who've simply never been talked to, whose needs are never met. They would go and vote if they were heard from. I love that you mentioned that Southeast LA looks exactly like that too. Yeah, it's true. And then Sean is against AC. Well, he's French. That's my French goat. I have to stand with him. What is this? Timestamp local news mentioning her presence at the party.
About to make her way outside of this room where she had been, at least for some period of time tonight. She's been in that room at least once, I know, with a far left streamer, Hassan Piker, who has really helped boost her profile. He's here tonight. There's been lines around this place of people lining up to take pictures with him. He has some, what some would describe as pretty far left views on Israel. And obviously, Kuros has had to deal with some accusations of anti-Semitism as well. But this is a moment for the Democratic Socialists in Colorado and across the country, right?
Right, there are Democratic Socialists on Denver City Council and in the state legislature, and now soon to be in the Colorado congressional delegation, because obviously a Republican is not going to be competitive in Colorado's first congressional district. Here she comes on the way. All right. Yep. Go ahead and move your camera if you guys want to move the camera over there.
All right. I'm getting out of your way. You do it. Me.
You do it. We'll continue to kind of talk about this here as we.
Yeah. Can you guess what Matt Bennett's new op-ed's about? New op-ed on the rise of the DSA and how Democrats should respond. GIF link. Oh, that's amazing. The far left is poised to take over the Democratic Party if it isn't stopped. Matt, fascism is here, big dog. Everybody knows you're a fraudulent ass motherfucker who only cares about connecting major corporations with the Democratic Party, okay? It's unbelievable that this guy is still crying about this. JLM, Jean-Luc Mélenchon only said Le Pen's idea to combat climate change by putting ACs everywhere is stupid. He's not against AC. I hope not. Yes, I know Matt was a Dukakis tank guy. Of course I know. I know my ops. I know my ops very well. Okay? Anyway, listen. Politico on the Colorado win. You get quoted in this? Oh, yeah. Anti-establishment avalanche buries a pair of Colorado Democratic stalwarts. Okay, we're obviously going to talk about this right now. I guess the last thing I wanted to say is it was an incredible night, and it's yet another instance of proof of our action, our impact as a community, our impact in this movement, right? Like, no one man is a kingmaker. This is not a moment. This is a movement. No one person is more important than the next. And We all played a role in this. Every single person that phone bank played a role in this victory. Every single person that went out and door knocked played a role in this victory. Every single person that's been watching for a decade that went and joined their local DSA in Denver that decided to, like I was talking to some of the people there, like, you know, unionize their workplace, Alamo Draft House. Every single person played a role in this. Every dollar raised was able to combat 3 times the amount of outside expenditure. Okay? Maylot was outspent 3-1. And in the last week, those attack ads kept coming through. Okay? And by the way, I don't even know if it's appropriate to call people like myself a kingmaker. I think it's probably a little bit more appropriate to say queen maker. All jokes aside. Because goddamn, we got a bunch of queens. Some kings too. But a bunch of queens in Congress is crazy. All right. In any case, look at the vibes at the Maylot rally, and then look at the vibes at Diana Getz re-election campaign. This is a 30-year incumbent, and that's it. Because of the Alamo Draft House unions, all ADH employees got pay raises. Hell yeah! I want you to know, after the way you talked about joining in on the canvassing and donating to DSA, I've decided to join the next DSA group in my state. Good. I live in Denver, and at the gym, I would only see attack outs on Maylot and never on other candidates. It was crazy. Yeah, they flood the markets. They flood the markets. Okay? All they have were attack ads. They got nothing. Here's the thing. If Diane DeGette took advantage of her 30 years in Congress, she could stand on her laurels, right? She could just straight up be like, here's what I delivered for Denver. Here's what I fought for. Not just simply a signature on a Medicare for All bill that she co-sponsored. You know who else did that? Kamala Harris, right? Not just simply being a person who sat in that role and collected paychecks and collected campaign contributions from major corporations, but someone who actually did the work. A person like that would not have been thwarted by an unknown entity that came out of nowhere. Now, of course, Maylot Quiros didn't just come out of nowhere, right? I'm talking came out of nowhere for normal politics, but we're not living in normal times right now. She is just like Daria Liza, just like Claire Valdez, and in some ways just like Zoran Mamdani, a representative of the anger that a lot of people feel, a resentment that they feel towards business as usual politics, of the Democratic Party's feckless nature, its ineptitude, its lack of interest in representing its constituents. That's it. As long as you can actually connect with the voters, identify their problems, and offer solutions, and communicate that you will earnestly fight for their rights, fight to improve their lives, you can win. And that's where we come in, right? That's where we come in. That's where DSA comes in, right? The groundwork, the legwork, the fundraising. Because people like Maylot are not going to generate millions of dollars with one signature from a massive corporation with tremendous amounts of consolidated wealth, right? They're not. This kind of movement doesn't work if we can't connect it to the grassroots. So I see myself as the connective tissue in that regard. I see this community as being able to connect with campaigns that are going to fight for all of us. Okay? I think that this community is something the left has not had for a long time. That's air cover. You can put a lot of national leftists on a campaign and give a huge visibility boost so the voters can even hear their arguments. Name rank and ad spending has always drawn us out. You give so much earned media and monetary support that a decent candidate instantly can use you as a nitro boost. That's a new factor that the establishment can't contain. You aren't part of the plan. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why the establishment does not like me and wants to take my ass out. Okay? That's it. That's a big part of the reason why so many people are frustrated with what I'm doing. Okay? I'm supposed to sit back and maybe chirp from afar. I'm not supposed to get hands-on. This community is not supposed to get more involved directly, right? And if someone is supposed to get involved directly, they're supposed to do it in the appropriate venues, right? This is an inappropriate venue because it's unbossed, unbought, unbowed, and not controllable by the party. I'm not afraid to shake things up. We are not afraid to shake things up. We are not afraid to unseat a 30-year incumbent. This seniority fetishism is part of the problem with American politics, and especially a problem with the Democratic Party. Okay? We're doing away with all of that. That's another issue. That's another broad problem within the Democratic Party, right? The idea that everyone has to wait their turn. You just have to sit around, collect those paychecks, and not really do anything, not rock the boat, never put your name out there, never put your social and political capital out there if you're a politician. You just have to wait your turn. That's what Diane DeGette had done for the last 30 years. And that's precisely what a lot of Colorado Democrats were probably waiting to do to replace Diana DeGette, trying to win favors with her, right? Never even being bold enough to try and unseat her. Okay? And we took advantage of that opportunity. Diana didn't do anything, though. Do you think we can win against power brokers like Schumer, Jeffries, and Gottheimer? Gottheimer is not a power broker. And Schumer is no longer going to be a power broker anyway. And if you think about Jeffries, he's a somewhat weak power broker. He does still hold all the power in the party, power of the purse. But tides are turning. And guess what? We have to try. We have to try. We have to attempt to make these changes, sometimes by brute force. Okay? Last night was another major victory in that endeavor, in that initiative. That's it. If these guys won't fight back against the growth of fascism in this country, we'll elect those who will. If these guys won't place the interests of their constituents, the interests of the working class at the center of their movement, we'll put in positions of power those who will. That's a promise. And since the beginning of my career, I never thought that I would be able to get to a position where I can be that connective tissue, where I can actually put candidates who are worth it in front of a grassroots movement. Okay? Here's the reality. Diana DeGette was confronted by the Sunrise Movement, by her constituents. They said, why are you giving money to Israel? Why won't you stop the flow of weapons to Israel? And her response was, I'm going to continue doing that. Don't vote for me. And guess what? Denver, Colorado listened to that. They heard her.
Not going to agree with me on this because you think
that Palestinians deserve to live. Thank you very much.
No, ma'am, that's not it. Did you? Hi.
Yes, I did record it.
Okay. Here I am.
Hi, Diana. I'm Nicole Shea.
Hi, Nicole.
I'm a delegate in Denver. I'm in 5 points.
Okay, great.
Like you, I really consider myself a women's rights activist. I appreciate the work you've done. So I'm just wondering, why do you keep sending money for bombs that Israel is sending to Palestine?
So actually most people think that Israel should be able to defend itself with an Iron Dome. And
Oh, most people think that. Okay, got it. Oh, if most people think that, then that's fine, I guess. Oh, my bad. Well, what do you think? Do you think that it's appropriate? You know what I mean?
that's what I'm talking about. But so
defending themselves is different than continuing the genocide in Palestine. You're talking about different subjects, and I'm trying to ask you about the Block the Bombs Act.
Okay, I'll tell you about the Block the Bombs Act. I've read the Block the Bombs Act. The Block the Bombs Act is a very poorly written piece of legislation because it's both too narrow and it's too broad.
So why haven't you introduced amendments
Can I finish? I can't introduce amendments because it hasn't been brought up.
Why are you sending money to Israel to commit a genocide in Palestine?
If the only issue that you care about is this issue, then you should not vote for me.
And there it is. And people heard her loud and clear, right? Can you tell us how something can be too narrow and too broad? I can't. In that moment, she thought she cooked, okay? It's that simple. Here was my farewell message Diana to get last night, and the Democrats at large.
Night where Diana DeGette also got punished low-key for the one moment in her 30-year career where she unironically didn't do the wrong thing for demanding the majority whip position away from Jim Clyburn, who told her to fuck off. I think that's low-key part of the reason why the Congressional Black Caucus, and the institutions within the Democratic Party did not lend her support. But at the end of the day, if Diana DeGette had done...
Dog, you're hammered? I'm not. I was just not having a good time. Like, I mean, I was having a great time, but I wasn't like, you're out of breath here? Yeah, dog, I'm 1.6 kilometers above water level, okay? And I'm traveling so much, and I'm tired, okay? This is on the 9th hour of a 9-hour stream after I traveled early in the morning from California to Denver, okay? You guys need to give me a little bit more grace, please. I'm asking for it.
Anything in her 30-year career.
Bro, I don't know how the fuck you do it. Honestly, I was at that election party too, and I saw when you left, and I basically just woke up, and I didn't even have to fly home. You're a beast. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you, the hippie one, for understanding the amount of effort I put into this shit that most people don't recognize. Okay?
Would not be in the position that she's in right now, but I have to be thankful. Thank you for not retiring, Diana DeGette. Because you allowed a bold Democratic Socialist to run for the seat before seniority kicked in and you were retiring, and then you hand-selected your replacement, which would have been a cookie-cutter, neoliberal, faux progressive Democrat that we'd have to defeat. We would have defeated them regardless, but it would have probably been a tougher fight. So, cheers to 30 years of service. God, no wonder the Democrats fucking hate me. It makes sense. Fuck, I hate me too. Here's a really simple solution though. Stop fighting the left. Join the left. Start fighting the right.
Hold on. Millennial ass music. Okay, can I just say the Democratic Socialist movement that many of you are very excited about is objectively a millennial movement. Okay. Even the older, the zillennials, the older Gen Z need to fucking recognize that. You understand? That's all I'm saying. Like, millennials on top, this is my whole life. I've been embarrassed to be called a millennial. I've always said Faillennial, but honestly, Faillennials are putting numbers on the fucking board right now. And yes, Maylot is spiritually also Faillennial, despite the fact that she's 29 years old. Okay, she's a Zillennial and therefore a Faillennial. We went through 2016. We went through 2020. We saw the Bernard run. We saw so many defeats in the last decade. But through resilience, through steadfastness, through tireless advocacy, the Faillennials rose to the challenge and are now meeting the moment. Okay? That's it. That's it. Many of you Gen Zers who have said heinous things on the internet under the guise of anonymity don't understand how much your elders currently are fighting for you and your rights as posters. Okay? Think about the Daria Lisa campaign. Think about the attacks that she withstood. Okay? Think about the attacks that she withstood. Now, imagine your anonymous social media profile, if you were to ever run for office or any position of power, what that would look like, what your social media profile would look like. We have to just white knuckle through this process so that we can chart a better path forward for all of you. Okay? We're crawling so you can walk and then maybe run one day. You understand? We're pushing through the boomer dam that has held on to entrenched power for far too long. We're brute forcing it so that you guys one day can unseat us. Okay? When you see the elderly millennials like myself at the age of 34 doing all this stuff, I don't want to hear the slander about how we're boomers, how we don't get it. Okay? We're doing the damn thing. We're doing the damn thing. Yeah. A Democratic socialist born in 1997 just beat a Democrat who first took office in 1997. Respect your elders, Gen Z. We're doing the damn thing for you, okay? For all of us. And for the record, before the fucking millennials get a little too high on their own supply here and be like, oh, Gen Z defined by Nick Fuentes clip compilations, Aiden Ross, and Andrew Tate. Remember, they're going to grow out of it. You were fucking cringe too, okay? We all went through our different phases, okay? And many in the Gen Z will also, not just the Zillennials, not just the older Gen Z, which we also bring into the millennial fold, okay? Because, like, come on, guys, I've hung out with Maylot. She is spiritually Zillennial. She is spiritually millennial. I'm sorry. You can't act like she's a normal Gen Z person, okay? Like, when people think of Gen Z, they think of, you know, people who have fried their brains because their most formative years leading into adolescence and adulthood were during COVID, okay? We're defined by the lockdowns and we're defined by, you know, watching the worst of the worst content and having that shit fucking penetrate their collective consciousness. If you're on the cusp, you're a millennial. When people think of millennials, they think of Pete Buttigieg and Mallory McMorrow. Yeah, I know. In any case, I don't really care about generational politics. This bullshit, it's reactionary. You already know it's counter-revolutionary behavior to focus on generational politics. What we care about is the immortal science backed by dialectical materialism, historical materialism. You already know, okay? We only care about class divide, and nothing else. This is all jokes. When we're talking about like the difference between millennials and the difference between Gen Z, all this stuff, it's just jokes, not serious. You're literally been doing generational politics for 10 minutes now. Hasanabi, what are you talking about, Unk? Okay, calm down. It's just jokes. I'm just memeing. But yeah, Let's get started here from 9 News. Progressive challenger unseats.
Victory parties and concession speeches.
30-year
Coloradans made their
incumbent.
voices heard, and most of the race results are in.
Last night's results setting the stage, of course, for the midterms this November. That's when we'll vote for the state's next governor, among other races. Some of the House races could determine which side of the aisle takes control of Congress in D.C. this fall. Thanks for joining us here at 7:30. I'm Drew Carney.
And I'm Corey Rose. We have team coverage tracking the latest from the key races and what it all means as we head into November. Let's get right to 9 News reporter Courtney Yoon with the latest from one of the most watched races in the state, House District 1. And history was made here, Courtney.
Yes, that's right, Corey and Drew. It was the end of a decades-long run in Congress for one candidate. Political newcomer Maylot Quiros unseated Democratic incumbent Diana DeGette. DeGette served 15 terms in Colorado's 1st congressional district. That's about as long as 29 and as old as 29-year-old Quiros. So Quiros celebrated her win last night at the Broadway in Denver. She kept an early lead before the race was called around 10 p.m. The first-time candidate and Democratic Socialist pledged to refuse corporate PAC money. She's also aligned herself with emerging candidates across the nation who are running as young, bold, and unbought. CU Regent Wanda James also ran to unseat DeGette. She conceded at 9 p.m. last night. Quiros has been endorsed by Senator Bernie Sanders. DeGette had support from Colorado's established Democratic House delegation. Quiros faces criticism from some members of Colorado's Jewish population over her strong opposition to Israel's occupation of Palestine. Here's her response to critics who've accused her of anti-Semitism.
My commitment has always been to protecting the sanctity and dignity of all life. That includes every single person of all faith, all different religions, and that especially includes the Jewish community, especially now as anti-Semitism is rising all across the state and all across this country. And I look forward to working with the community to figure out how we can combat that hate.
If elected in November, Quiros would become Colorado's first Democratic Socialist elected to Congress. It marks a shift towards more progressive leadership in one of the state's most reliably Democratic districts. Live in Denver, Courtney Yu, 9 News.
By the way, the chirpers that said this is a New York thing only have now, of course, moved the goalpost to, this is a plus 30 Democrat district, of course, like she's going to win there. Like, goalpost moved instantly, okay? Before they were like, oh, this only works in New York. Now they're like, well, this works in every blue city, but it only works in blue cities. And then next up, they'll say, okay, this only worked this time. It was a fluke, okay? So remember, we're just going to keep pushing through it, right? Yeah, what happened? I thought this was just a Zoran only thing, right? I thought this only worked because of Zoran. It turns out it's not a moment, it's a movement. It turns out it's not about one guy. Of course, Zoran has, been an incredible movement leader, right? He's done a fantastic job to build that momentum. But what have I been telling you? What have I been telling you? Okay? All of this is just proof in the pudding. This is literally my theory of change in action. I don't need to fucking beg people to pay attention to it anymore. Now people are paying attention to it. But what's crazy about it is that they're paying attention to it, but they're still trying to take the wrong lessons, okay? They are refusing to learn the right lessons here. They're trying to derive the wrong lessons out of this. With Zoran, they did it too. They said, oh, he's just charismatic, once in a lifetime. He's got a great smile. He's got a great social media team. All of those things are true, but it wasn't because of that. It was because he had the fundamentals. He had the policies and he had the legitimacy. Okay? You have to have the policies and you have to be able to communicate those policies in an honest manner. Did you hear Chapo glaze you yet? No, I still haven't heard Chapo glaze me yet. I've listened to some of the conversation they were having. They were clowning on Dottie Eliza a little too much, okay? I don't like it. We've all cringe posted. That's my girl. Anyway. But yeah. To be cringe is to be free, okay? That's all I'm going to say. It's the same with your involvement in general. If the candidate wins, you did nothing. If the candidate loses, it was all your fault. They can't make up their mind. I mean, yeah, my involvement is look, you can go and ask the campaigns what they think about it. right? and you will hear what the truth is, right? And some people have. And you've already seen it. So it doesn't matter. You are a part of it in many instances, right? So it doesn't matter what the fucking outsiders say. We know what the truth is. And ultimately, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether people recognize my impact or not. I don't give a shit, dude. What I care about is putting numbers on the goddamn board. Okay? What I care about is putting numbers on the goddamn board. What I care about is electing socialists, electing fighters, putting them in office. Do you understand? What I care about is building this movement. For years and years, I filtered this audience into the Democratic Socialists of America for a decade now. Okay? And you see that. You see that in the victory party for Zoran. You see that in the victory party in Denver for Maylot Quiros. And you see that in the victories itself. Right? Sounding more like Kobe than LeBron. I don't know what that means because I'm not even taking credit for it. I'm saying we've been doing the work, and not just myself, but like these organizations have been doing the work, especially, okay, for the past decade with limited success. And the job is not finished. It's just beginning. So, you know, it's utterly irrelevant. It's utterly immaterial what people say. By the way, endorsement tracker updated. 2026 endorsement tracker updated. Contested races. Zoran Mamdani, 100% win rate, 3 wins, 0 losses, 1 contested win. AOC, 83% win rate, 5 wins, 1 loss, 1 contested win. I'm 67, 6-7, 10 wins, 5 losses, 6 pending, 2 contested wins. Working Families Party with 22 wins. It's crazy. And Justice Dems at 13 wins, 4 losses, 7 pending, 2 contested, 76%. Bernard Sanders, Papa Bernard with 10 wins, 3 losses, and 3 contested. Now, of course, the irony here is that the best way to go about this is when all of these endorsements and all of these movements work together, right? And there are certain instances where like you can't really do that. Like with Bernie. Bernie couldn't do that with Gonzalez, right? Which we're going to be talking about in a second. Like the leaderboard that I want to look at is Jules Nader. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Update. Quiros will exceed Hamawi's margin based on the remaining votes. She might even exceed Rab still too. This result once again shows the power of the combination of Hassan the Hun and Dem socialists plus key leftist leaders. Let's go. Yeah, this is the real tracker. Okay, this is the real tracker because it shows that when there are, you know, key leftist leaders, when there are key leftist leaders like Bernie or AOC, or if it's regional, if it's New York related, then Zoran, but most importantly with the DSA, you know, I don't think there's a single race in the entire country where like the coalition of forces in some way, shape, or form haven't gotten together, right? And then we build the movement by expanding on the momentum. We build the movement by doing what? Claire Valdez was phone banking for Oliver Larkin. Maylot Quiros was endorsed by Daria Lisa, right? This is something that the Justice Democrats does behind closed doors, very quietly. This is part of the reason why I was always on board with Shoykat's run, even if he didn't get the national attention from any of these other groups, any of these other institutions, any of these other organizations, right? Rab was out there immediately expanding on this victory that he put down. This is how we do it because we have nobody else but ourselves, okay? We have only ourselves to rely on. No one else is coming for us. If anything, they're coming to stop us, right? Daria Lisa was at the phone bank too. No paper endorsements at DSA. What is this? You're amazing, but I really think the crux for the DSA has been marketing. Even as leftists in the Portland, Oregon suburbs didn't see outreach and guidance on politicians, the message is solid and needs a megaphone. Yeah. Gonzalez dropping out of that rally with Quiroz was a bad move. Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about that in a second. Also, credit to Shoykov for bringing out Daria Eliza and Melat for his San Francisco rally with you. That was huge and showed he's on the right track. I mean, yeah, that was big for them too. This was very impactful, right? This was a moment when they needed as much media attention as possible. And that's not my assessment. That's like literally their assessment, right? Like these are the opinions of the campaigns and of the politicians who are now going to be elected into Congress. Like they've said that. The Atlantic dropped a new DSA hit piece like 45 minutes ago. I know there's going to be more. The hits are going to keep coming. But you know what's interesting about this? I'm not so lonely any longer. Okay? Back in the day, I was the sin eater. Now they've realized that it's a movement, so now they're trying to spread it around. So at least I won't, selfishly, I'm not the only person that they're yelling about. Okay? Sorry. But you guys can deal with it. Many of you that are in the DSA, many of you that have maybe even worked on these campaigns, some of you that have run for office at this point, you've already seen me go through this process. You've already seen me go through the motion in the last decade or so. You know what it looks like. You know it doesn't fucking matter, right? So you just have to be more emboldened, and you have to be courageous. You have to be brave, and you have to keep pushing. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Linda Sarsour thanked me, and she's the OG tank, right? Linda Sarsour is someone who, I mean, Linda Sarsour is obviously Palestinian. She's been pro-BDS, pro-Palestine her whole life, and she's been punished endlessly for it. And I was talking to her about this last night, where it's like, I was like, remember 10 years ago, like, would you ever think when you were at the Women's March, because she was one of the leaders of the Women's March, I was like, think about it 10 years ago. Think about the attacks that you withstood. Think about where this movement was 10 years ago, when how much people will yell at Rashida, how much people will yell at Ilhan Omar, and how little people would come to their defense. I remember I was there. I would be fucking freaking out on every single person that would dare to call these unbelievable heroes anti-Semitic. And it would come from all different avenues, too. It would come from different angles. It would come from supposedly progressive figures as well. The Democratic Party would leave them out to dry. They would hang them out to dry over and over again. Yes, I say it all. I say this. I rip on plenty of Mao's quotes, but this is one of my favorite ones. To be attacked by the enemy is not a bad thing, but a good thing. Of course. I hold that it is bad as far as we are concerned if a person, a political party, an army, or a school is not attacked by the enemy. For in that case, it would definitely mean that we have sunk to the level of the enemy. It is good if we are attacked by the enemy, since it proves that we have drawn a clear line of demarcation between the enemy and ourselves. It is still better if the enemy attacks us wildly and paints us as utterly black and without a single virtue. It demonstrates that we have not only drawn a clear line of demarcation between the enemy and ourselves, but achieved a great deal in our work.
With all of our friends that we're sending with you, because what's beautiful now is people are not going alone. You're sending a whole class full of them. And so I'm just here because I like to be in places where winners are. I know I might have been a little cocky after New York Knicks won their championship after 53 years, but I want to be where the winners are. And I know the winners are also where Hassan is. And I just want to say this really quickly on Hassan, because I be on the record. If this man is the most hated man by the Democratic Party, make sure that you know I'm with Hassan Piker on this one. Because Hassan can sit somewhere on his little Twitch and do what he twitches, whatever that is, because I'm old, so I don't know what he does, but he does something important. But he also comes outside. He's been helping our candidates all across this country, using his platform for good, to be an extension of our movements. And I want you to get your credit for that, Hassan. And actually, I like when you're on the front page of every paper, because that actually helps us, just so you know. So please, just for us, let him hate you, it's okay. It's actually doing something for us.
It's true. It's true. I've been the sin eater for the longest time, and it felt a little lonely. I was a magnet of hate. But now this movement is growing and it's becoming so undeniable that people are paying attention, that it's not just like one person, right? It's not just one person at all. It's just there's so many of us. So many of us out there pushing for the same cause.
We could not have been more lazy.
You guys did more for like that lady in Los Angeles, like you had her on like 5 years ago, and she was running for city council.
Yeah.
The one who stole the election against Spencer Pratt.
Just like I know his name has come out of Fetterman's mouth too. But if you're gonna credit someone for this or blame them for it, we got to give our boy Hassan credit because he was in New York City more than I am. He was out in the streets of New York more than I was over the last fucking month or so. He was doing like 90,000 people phone banking for DAC.
Yeah, he was talking about them like constantly, like on his stream. There's some guy who like followed him to like watch him play like the Elden Ring DLC, who has to hear him talk about like the primary for New York's 13th congressional district every day.
Oh man,
it's the back like as recently as 3 years ago, nobody gave a shit about any of these races, but now it's like it's a primary election for a midterm is like prime time shit. They got like Steve Kornacki bringing up the board for like a special election in Tennessee. There is so much just interest in this. So thank you, Trump. Thank you.
I'll just note one other opinion piece from the Wall Street Journal. This is by Matthew Hennessy. Headline: Unleash Fetterman on the DSA.
Unleash him. Poof. Imagine us on playing a game still. Okay, shut up. All right, I'm gonna pee real quick.
Speaking momentarily
but
after
I'll be
a
back in a
victory
second.
party tonight in Denver. The 29-year-old corporate attorney turned barista has defeated Democratic Congresswoman Diana DeGette, ending one of the longer careers in Democratic political history. DeGette held that seat for 15 terms and rarely had a challenger. This year, Malak Quiros pulled off what was long thought to be impossible, and she has changed Denver's Democratic Party structure and Colorado politics in doing so. Let's listen in.
This victory belongs to every single one of you! Denver voters of all ages, of all races, of all religions sends a clear message. We will not wait! We will not wait to take the fight to Donald Trump and the oligarchy. We will not wait! We will not wait to abolish ICE and pass Medicare for all. We will not wait to put an end to the politics of the past, to get big money out of our politics, and to reject corporate PACs and AIPAC. And no, we will not wait to end the genocide in Palestine. We believe that fundamental change can and will happen if we fight for it. If we organize and show no fear in standing up for what's right, that is the message that Denver has sent to both parties, to Donald.
That was millennial. That is millennial coded. That is millennial. I won't lie. The air horn is crazy. That is millennial as hell, bro. Beer, 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 beer.
Trump and to the entire country. I want everyone in this room to take just a moment and look at the people around you. Strangers to you just a year ago, just a few months ago. But tonight,
it feels good to win, baby.
Tonight, together,
it feels good to win.
You are all something else.
Oh.
Tonight, you are proof. 1 year ago, a lot of experienced people told us this was impossible. They said you can't win without corporate PAC money. They said you can't beat a 30-year incumbent. They said the establishment and the oligarchy is just too big and too powerful to overcome. That's what they said. But 1 year, 6,500 volunteers. 1,000.
I didn't do that.
115,000 doors. You are the proof that the power of organized people beats the power of organized money. I have to take a moment and thank every single one of you in this room, to every single person that has volunteered, that has supported this campaign, to Justice Democrats, to Denver DSA, to the Working Families Party, to Sunrise, to our incredible team, Matt Group, Rebecca, Howard, Susie, Ellis, Marissa, Lauren, Bill, Jackson, Jay, Ethan, Deep, Sarah, Casey, Michelle, to every single volunteer who knocked on a door, who made a phone call, who talked to your friend, who talked to your coworker, who talked to your neighbor, and made—
No unk mention? I know. It's all, bro, it's done. Fake. It's over. Friendship ended with Maylot. No, Hassan, thank you, sus. Have you worked with Working Families Party? Of course, I've worked with Working Families Party in the past, and most likely will continue to do so in the future. Sure, there was a little bit of friction in the New York race, obviously, but outside of that, the Working Families Party has played a formative role in New York and many other races as well. He got mentioned earlier. Nah, I'm washed. No mention. No mention.
made a choice to believe that a better world is possible if only we fight for it. I want to take a moment to acknowledge Congresswoman Diana DeGette. I am grateful for her service.
Damn, she thanked me and not you. Feels bad while Bunhole gets the thanks before Hasanabi. Listen, we work real G's move in silence like lasagna, okay?
And her fight for
I'm only in it for the glaze.
reproductive freedom. She helped build the community that welcomed my family to this city and to this district, and I'll always be grateful for that.
Maylot Kuros mentioned in an interview today she thinks of you as a coworker and not a friend. Coworker wig. Once again, Chudwig strikes back.
And I want to thank the one and only
Maylot Kuros says she would not go to my funeral.
Senator Bernie Sanders for his support, and to every single progressive running for office in Colorado, across the country, across this state, for inspiration, for solidarity. Tonight we saw wins down ballot. We saw Cello win. We saw Iris win. We are winning from coast to coast, from every level of office. We are taking back our party and our country.
I didn't do that.
I want to tell you something about why this campaign matters, because it matters for what comes next. When I wrote a letter defending students' rights to protest the genocide in Gaza, my law firm told me, take it down or you're fired. I didn't flinch because I stood by every word, and I always will. But I know that will not be the only moment where those in power will tell me to change my tune, to not rock the boat. That seems to happen a lot in Congress. But here in Denver, we stand by our values, and we stand with our community. We are days away from embarking on the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country. I've been thinking a lot about what that means. The promises made, the promises unfulfilled, that this country belongs to everyone who loves it and what it stands for, not just the people born here, not just the people who look
As a radical centrist, I'm deeply disturbed by this hate-filled speech. It reminds me of Zoran's hate-filled victory speech. Yeah, I agree. Talking about, is this true? If so, wild full circle moment. The law firm that fired Maylot Kuros for speaking out on Palestine is where the Obamas first met. Wait, no. Could not have contrived a more on-the-nose plot twist regarding Zionism and PMC racial politics when I wrote this 2 years ago. The rise and fall of baby boomer Zionism. Zionism has long been the tip of spear aimed at the heart of the multiracial left. Local news mentioned in Denver last night. Wait, we already saw
They
this.
weren't not only down when those older, maybe more.
We saw this already. Yeah. Did Get put out a concession speech?
I want to congratulate Maylot Kiros for her victory last night, and I want to wish her
Bro, last night she was like, oh, it'll take a couple days for us to know the final results. It didn't take a couple days.
all the best in her future. I also want to thank Wanda James for her years of involvement and service to this community. Thanks to all my friends and supporters who have lifted me up in all of my years in public service. And thanks to my intrepid campaign staff who fought until the bitter end to get our message out. Job number one is standing up to Donald Trump and protecting our democracy. And along with thousands of constituents, I want to thank all of the staff from my congressional office, both Denver and DC, for consistently serving the residents of the 1st Congressional District over the years with commitment and compassion. And I want to thank my family, my sisters Kathy and Kara, and my brother Rick and their families, my wonderful daughters Rafaela and Francesca, who have never known a time when their mom was not in elected office, and whose families keep them strong and centered.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a basic concession speech. It's expected. Also, The Atlantic has continued New York Mag's tradition of not fact-checking Jonathan Chait's lazy, error-laden column. Chevalier won a primary for Congress, not the State House. He also misspelled my name. This is not his first article he's written about me, by the way, so it's kind of crazy that he's still misspelling my name. Hassan Piker, who is one of DSA's most influential advocates, campaigned for several of the candidates it has endorsed, said recently at an event, I wish they'd stop calling me a radical. None of these people, he said, gesturing to the crowd off screen, are radical. They just want healthcare. They want an end to American militarism. They want to spend money on roads, on infrastructure, on schooling, on healthcare, rather than bombs overseas, which I assume Jonathan Chait followed that up with, he is actually a radical and a terrorist, and here is why. Okay? I suspect that article that he wrote follows it up with, no, he is actually a radical. He is actually dangerous. He is actually, he's in support of, yep, here it is. Yet Piker himself has followed the DSA's militant line, repeatedly praising authoritarian regimes such as China's, Cuba's, and Russia's, as well as terrorist groups such as Hamas and Hezbollah. He has said that his closest existing model for an ideal society is China, which does not have progressive social values or especially generous welfare state, but does have a communist ruling party. I like that there is no nuance afforded to this analysis, especially considering that in that interview, I described the many criticisms that I have. I have never praised Russia, by the way. It's ironic that they say that. Doesn't really matter. It's bullshit, but nobody gives a fuck, right? And as far as the interview that I did, where I said the closest existing version as far as the economy goes, the closest existing version of what I would like as far as like responsive politics, as far as a centrally planned economy would be the Chinese system. And the results speak for themselves. 800 million people lifted out of extreme poverty, unbelievable levels of rural development that has taken shape in China. That is what I would love to see in the United States of America. But there are certain concepts in the Western world that I grew up with, that I maintain is profoundly important. Due process, free speech, and things of that nature are very important to me personally, right? I'm glad you're clarifying this. Dog, I clarified this in that interview. In that interview. Okay? I want our spending priorities to be centered around the needs of the working class. I want to improve the working class material conditions. Okay? These guys know, or many of them don't even know, but ultimately none of them care. Especially when he says he's praised authoritarian regimes such as China's, Cuba's, and Russia's. Like, what do you mean I've praised Russia? I have not praised Russia. I don't think the Russian kleptocracy led by former KGB agents turned oligarchs as a consequence of the shock doctrine deployed, the liberalization that destroyed the post-USSR Russia. I've never showered it with praise. Why the fuck would I do that? They think the Crimea River clip is Russian exceptionalism. I know, it's so funny. Would they always be like, oh, you said Crimea River? It's like, big dog. My position on this, albeit sometimes a humorous quip where I say Crimea belongs to the Tatars and therefore it's Turkish territory first and foremost, is utterly immaterial to what has already taken place. Okay? And it's always people who are pro greater Israel project that try to go, oh, it's hypocritical. You think I have an ownership stake in the same way that you feel an ownership stake in the greater Israel project? You think I have an ownership stake in Russian irredentism? I don't. I just want there to be a diplomatic process seen through so that more and more Ukrainians are not fucking dying. That's been my consistent position since day one. It's the same for Israel and the IOF against Hamas, where I've demanded a ceasefire over and over again. And it's the same thing that I've demanded in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the illegal invasion of Ukraine. People holding on to Crimea as this like choke point, as this like pivot point, are holding on to nothing. It's so strange to me. Anyway. Putin bad ticker required. A Ukrainian just got charged for blowing up Nord Stream pipeline by a German court. Yeah, I don't even think that was one random Ukrainian that did that. That's crazy. There has never been a moment where I've justified the illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine. Not once. And it's so funny that people still run this lie over and over again. Yeah, take it up with Biden. Take it up with Obama. They were the ones who also did not choose to advance the defense of Crimea and instead recognized Sevastopol as an existing Russian military base, which it was, and thought that the Crimean annexation and the way that they dealt with it, which was without a single shot fired, was objectively very different than the current Russian invasion and occupation of eastern Ukraine. If we can't make these distinctions, then we're being ridiculous. Anyway, you absolutely did support Russia and defend its invasion. You did it when I made it up in my head. I know. People will still push that line. Why is Dylan Burns mad at you? Because I think for a lot of these guys, some of them are very passionate and it's understandable. Okay. But for a lot of these guys, it's a way to advance their own personal grievances. Maybe I made them feel small. Maybe I made them feel silly. Who gives a shit at the end of the day? But that's what it is. There are a lot of content creators who will use like existing global conflict where hundreds of thousands of people are dying to advance their own personal interests. Also, I am objectively anti-NATO. So I think that's probably part of the reason why many of these guys are pro-NATO. I see NATO as an extension of American force projection capabilities, as an expansion of an extension of American empire, which, by the way, it's not just my assessment. Mark Rutte has openly admitted that that is precisely what NATO is, right? I'm in favor of diplomacy. So I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people will just like use anything and everything they can, because having a reasonable argument, having a reasonable conversation around what NATO is doing and what NATO has done is obviously not going to be favorable for a lot of people. I think it's far more defensible than many aspects of capitalism, by the way, from the perspective of like, being a bulwark against Russian irredentism, which Vladimir Putin has straightforwardly proven, right? It is real. It's a real fear. It's an understandable fear. Not going to lie, your analysis had a good friend of mine call me stupid because I said Russia was definitely going to invade Ukraine. I didn't think so. And neither did the Ukrainian government at the time, because no one expected Vladimir Putin to be that fucking crazy. Anyway, let's see what Sean Hannity had to say.
Mayla Kiros wants to upend our way of life, replace that with a Soviet-style socialist, system. Step one, getting rid of ICE. Step two, making all illegal immigrants citizens. Take a look.
What's your vision for abolishing ICE?
Yeah. I mean, it's just that we abolish ICE. This is an agency that started in what, like 2003? Like we had immigration enforcement before ICE existed. We'll have it after it exists. But the thing that I don't think we talk enough about is also what that reform is going to look like. Abolishing ICE is just one step, right? Democrats have been in power multiple times over the last few decades and did nothing to address the immigration reform that we actually
ICE
need.
expenditures, increased spending.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think there has to be an immediate pathway for every single undocumented immigrant that's here in this country today.
Now, you might have noticed that many of these socialist lunatics are kissing the ring of a guy by the name of Hassan Piker. Now, this is a rich kid turned socialist podcaster who loves communist China.
Shawnee baby. We were supposed to have a little tete-a-tete. We were supposed to have a convo in person. I was going to come to your compound in Florida. Shawnee baby, why are you talking about me but not to me? You stop responding to our emails, Sean. What the hell? What the hell? His cheeks keep getting fatter every day. It's so funny. I don't know why he's getting so bloated.
Communist Cuba, but seems to not like the USA. In fact,
at least unlike Jonathan Chait, he's saying I praise communist China and communist Cuba and did not say I praise Russia.
In fact, he once proclaimed that we, the U.S., deserved the 9/11 terror attacks, and sadly, Melat Kiros seems
and that
to
he
agree
hates
with
this fucking country so much. Wait, what?
this. Take a look.
Was 9/11 an inevitable consequence for America based on U.S. foreign policy?
This is such a crazy thing to still, like, multiple decades later advance as though 9/11 was just like randomly a thing that happened because like they hate us because they ain't us. Like, this is established at this point. Okay. I don't understand like what the argument is, man. It's been 25 fucking years, dude. When can we finally acknowledge that American destabilization led to 9/11? I'm not even alone in this. Like, this is one, an issue where there is academic consensus around, and two, even the people that were the godfathers of the post 9/11 global war on terror, the neocon movement, the people who were pivotal in using 9/11 to advance their own agendas in the Middle East, unironically have already acknowledged that 9/11 was a byproduct of our destabilization that led that went on for decades before 9/11. How conservatives think bin Laden chose to do 9/11? Yeah. New York Post says Colorado Democratic Socialist candidate called 9/11 terror attacks inevitable due to U.S. foreign policy. This is unironically a concept that comes across as like far-fetched, I guess, in mainstream media circles still for some reason. But like, this is something that most Americans understand. This doesn't mean 9/11 is good, by the way. It's just analysis. Okay? That's all this is. Where is it? Oh, here's Glenn Greenwald. The level of willful blindness and emotional immaturity when discussing the 9/11 attack a full 25 years later is stunning. The U.S. wasn't chosen randomly. Of course, decades of U.S. violence and dominance in the region played a significant role in the attack. Forcing people to pretend this isn't true out of some solemn reverence for this attack is repressive and deceitful. It would be like saying that Israeli violence and repression played no role in the October 7 attacks. Even the CIA has a doctrine to observe this causal relationship. It's called blowback. Also, a very famous podcast by a friend of the show, Noah Colwyn. Okay? And Brandon. Identifying the cause of X is totally unrelated to the question of whether X is justified. It's good to see that these dumb attacks are losing their potency, as the candidate who said it, Melat Kiros, basically won a congressional seat last night in Colorado, defeating a worthless Democratic incumbent, pointlessly filling that seat for 30 years. Sex Pestany is threatening to kill you, by the way. Yeah, I know. I mean, what else is new? That's not new, by the way. That's not new. He's been doing that. He does that every couple of months, if not it increases the frequency in which he does that. You're lucky your ops don't know the true source of your power. Yeah, that's true. An army of witches casting protection spells at all times is what holds my career up. Okay, but like, are you taking it seriously? What am I supposed to do, man? Actually, I don't like, I mean, oh shit, Sean Hannity addressed his cheeks. Thanks to everyone who has checked in. I've already addressed it several times on my radio show, but while training, I developed a painful pinched nerve on my neck. My doctor put me on prednisone to reduce the inflammation, and while it's helping, it led to laryngitis and some puffiness, which is normal for this medication. I'm fine, recovering well, and still training. But apparently, a few weeks of prednisone has generated more social media commentary than 30 years of rating success. I appreciate all the concern and well wishes, including from members of the left-wing media. Sorry to disappoint them, but a pinched nerve, a raspy voice, and a puffy face aren't taking me out anytime soon. Yeah, he was training his knees so he can sufficiently please the big dog Donald Trump. Hey, Sean, it has been months since you offered to debate me on your show, then pushed it back, asked to push it, and stopped answering my team's calls indefinitely. It's time to talk to me rather than about me. Is that good? Call him a hamster? Maybe he's challenged? Yeah. That's true. Hey, Sean Hannity, it has been months since you challenged to debate me on your show, then asked to push it back indefinitely and stopped answering my team's calls. Since you issued a challenge to debate me on your show. That's good. If he wants ratings better than his puffy cheeks, he should have you on. True. He's on injury timeout. I wish you a speedy recovery. Okay, that's good. He's not carrying the flame? No, that's fine.
Now, Maylot Kiros wants to.
All right, let's continue.
Inevitable in the sense that we destabilized a lot of the Middle East, that forced people to believe that another act of violence was the only response.
Now, there is one thing that these communists hate more than America, and that is the world's only Jewish state. That, of course, would be Israel. In fact, Kiros was fired from her job as a...
That's awesome. I love when these guys immediately hit that line and they're like, they very clearly are they very clearly are criticizing the world's only Jewish state. How dare they? It's like, okay. I don't know if you know this, Champ, but so are many other Americans. As a matter of fact, that's like the overwhelming majority of American positions on the issue. So I don't know who this is for. I don't know what's going on here. You know?
A corporate attorney due to an obsessive...
Yeah, they said the same shit about South Africa. It's the only white-ruled state on the African continent. Like, it doesn't matter.
Public hatred for Israel. And apparently she thinks, quote, the Jews of Israel had it coming on October 7th when thousands of innocent men, women, and children, they were murdered, they were kidnapped, some were beheaded and abducted. Take a look at this.
After October 7th, it felt like there were very different responses to what had happened. And, you know, I mean, everybody remembers, right, being on social media, seeing like some of the ways people were talking about Palestinians at the time. But I remember being on LinkedIn and like seeing other lawyers just like celebrating what they were seeing in Palestine.
He just claimed that was a quote. Yeah, I mean, he's just playing fast and loose.
The leveling of Gaza and the, you know, just complete destruction. And I was like, what is missing from this conversation where I could look at this as, you know, an inevitable consequence of apartheid, of occupation, decades of occupation, and somebody else could look at what Israel's response was and say, no, that's what we need to do. They need to be leveled.
Now, Quiros has also called for an embargo on all defensive weapons to Israel, including ammunition for the Iron Dome. It would seem that she, only has room in her heart for certain people.
Dude, it's just funny. Like, again, I think these guys are playing with fire when they reveal these positions on Fox News. Like, you're quite literally telling your audience that Melot Quiros is unironically more sincere about the same exact demand that Donald Trump made when he was running for the presidency and won on that campaign promise. Isolationism, America first, reconsidering all of these, all these weapons contracts that we have with all these other countries that are just like destabilizing the entire planet. That is what Trump ran on. That's what Trump won on. They play your stream clips like it's ISIS Salafist propaganda. I know, but the difference is I'm wearing a suit talking to a person who's going to be the next congressperson from Denver. It doesn't hit the same. You can't just present us as like these crazy guys who are, militant and in our defense of Islam and want Islam to take over the world or whatever the fuck, Shout out to the one Fox viewer that made that connection. I think we got to give people more credit, especially at this stage. A lot more people are done with Israel. You know what I mean? Including Republicans.
Especially if they are trans children. Take a look.
I wrote all of our policy page a year ago now, but we're updating it this week. And some of the things that we're adding in, there's also a trans bill of rights. It is, I think, incumbent upon us to be proactive in this fight. I think we've been on the defensive, and I think there are Democrats that have even considered abandoning our solidarity and our advocacy for the gay community, particularly for trans people and trans kids. And for that, I would say then you're not a Democrat.
Now, like every other socialist that's running, Melot Quiros espouses a set of truly insane ideas designed to completely destabilize the country and make life worse for everybody. The goal, destroy America from the inside out and replace our country with a communist utopia. By the way, if successful, I promise you, there will be no utopia. There will be suffering. There will be broken promises. There will be pain. There will be more poverty. And at the end of the day, a loss of freedom in the name of false security. Now, it's way past time for Democrats who still love America to stand up against these communist bullies. But the Democratic Party is full of nothing but power-hungry, moral cowards at the moment. And sadly, but for John Fetterman, patriotic Democrats are now few and far between. Take a look.
There is such a polarization, partisan split on this issue, the largest that I've ever seen. Just take a look at this. This is where it really gets interesting and I would dare say a little bit nutty. How proud to be an American. Among Republicans.
I think it's just stupid to, this is to demand stupidity, okay? I want to be proud of America. And there are certainly concepts that America has defended, even though the Trump administration is trying to destroy them, that are great, redeemable. We should be proud of them. But there's plenty of things that America has done that we shouldn't be proud of, right? We have this legacy. We should be honest about it. We can't advance American society. We can't change the American trajectory if we don't acknowledge some of the existing issues and some of the issues of our past. So when these guys on Fox News say, oh, these guys aren't proud to be American, what the fuck? It's like, dude, we want to fix these problems, okay? America has tremendous promise. America has tremendous potential, but we're just casting it aside. We're throwing it away at the altar of profit, at the altar of super profits for a handful of parasitic capital owners that don't have any loyalty to America or, more importantly, to Americans or anybody else. It's that simple. That's why I always say, like, look, America, the entity, is one thing. Americans is an entirely separate thing. And in most circumstances, America, the entity, operates at the behest of capital. And therefore, it operates in an antagonistic manner to Americans, the American working class, the overwhelming majority of Americans that have been left behind.
93% are extremely or very proud. Just one, a single one, say they have little to no pride in being an American. But look over at the Democratic side. This is where we've seen this extremely or very number. It's been taking a tumble at 27%. But look at this. The little or no proud to be an American actually among Democrats eclipses, is greater than the extremely or very proud number.
What has happened to this once great party known as the Democratic Party? Not that it was ever great, but is anybody really surprised?
Wait, what happened to the great American Party, also known as the Democratic Party? Not that it was ever great. What the fuck?
This is the Democratic Party. Not that it happened to this once great party known as the Democratic Party. Not that it was ever great.
Why did you say that then? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, what happened is Sean Hannity ate the great American Democratic Party. Not that it was ever great.
But is anybody really surprised? This is the result of what
Sean Hannity's hiding the Democratic Party in his cheeks.
There's decades now of Democratic leaders, academia, the media mob trashing our great country day in, day out, year in, year out. Take a look.
We're not going to make America great again. It was never that great.
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us, and in many ways, like Jesus, like the cross, it's been co-opted, and in some ways, its true meaning has been betrayed.
No, no, no! Not God bless America! God damn America!
Wow, what a flashback to my goat, Jeremiah Wright, the legend.
In the Bible.
Founding fathers did not live and die for this moment. I can't celebrate July 4th.
We tired! We want some of this earth! Or we'll tear this goddamn country up.
And making America great again.
By the way, it's so funny to put Farrakhan and then Pete Buttigieg. You know, guys like James Tallarico, Pete Buttigieg, and Farrakhan, same guy. Oh, that's awesome. Oh. It turns out the Democrats are truly the big tent, the biggest of tents. No tent is as vast and as large, as spacious as one that features Louis Farrakhan and Pete Buttigieg.
That passed that he has promised.
I think that might literally be the entire political spectrum. Okay, I don't even know where I could place Farrakhan, because sometimes he's on the far right, sometimes he's on the far left, right? He's a much more complex figure. It's difficult to fully comprehend what space he occupies on such a rigid spectrum. He's everywhere all at once, but it is hilarious to have Farrakhan up there with Pete fucking Buttigieg, dude.
To return us to was never as great as advertised.
I can promise you, black folks, we will take that day off. We will barbecue because we off. But black people, that nobody black I know is really excited about the 4th of July.
Everything they're doing runs against making America great.
Well,
it was never great, so I'm not going to say the again part, but
now, this America-hating monster the Democratic Party now created for political gain is now totally, completely out of control. And as Obama's anti-American pastor, the once, famous on this show, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, once said, America's chickens have come home to roost. All right, thanks for watching. Check out my new...
God, I'm going to be honest, dude. This is my favorite shit to do. Like, the victory is sweet. But the true nectar is the delicious tears of reactionaries the next day, okay? Victory is fantastic in and of itself. We're advancing a cause. We're putting people into key positions of power. But God damn it, I love Hogwatch so fucking much. I love it. I can't get enough of it, dude. It's the best kind of tears. Oh, how delicious the sweet nectar is of reactionaries crying about socialism growing in this country. We must put an end to it.
It's not just for the Big Apple anymore. Democrat socialist Malat Quiros beating longtime Democrat Congresswoman Diana DeGette in the Denver, Colorado district primary. Watch.
And to every single progressive running for office in Colorado, across the country, across this state for inspiration, for solidarity. Tonight we saw wins down ballot. We saw Cello win. We saw Iris win. We are winning from coast to coast, from every level of office. We are taking back our party and our country.
So could this be the latest sign that Democrats are losing their grip on the party? Our next guest has been telling us this was going to happen, that socialists would try and take over the party and then the country. Host of Politics in Perspective, Tom Del Picaro. Tom, is the socialist spread officially upon us with this result in Colorado?
Well, it is, at least in the big cities. And we need to remember that these are candidates that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, to some degree, support. So I know the Democrats are trying to say they're from outside our party. But we remember the theme of class warfare and tax the rich and...
Again, what a jump off, dude. Class warfare and tax the rich. Yeah, those two things are definitely the same. I guess.
Or a wealth tax. These are issues that are embraced by Gavin.
Like, what these guys mean when they talk about class warfare, obviously, is like, you know, gulags for anyone making over like $100,000 a year or whatever hysterical nonsense they believe, right? Obviously, that's what they're referencing when they talk about class warfare. That's you know, it's hysterical, it's ridiculous. But it's really funny to then say class warfare and then turn around and go, it's taxes on the billionaires. This is ultra violence. Qantas poll, another beautiful poll came out on our boy Abdul at 41%, to Haley Stevens is 35%, to Mallory McGore is 7%, at only 15% undecided. U.S. Senate in Michigan. What can I say? What can I say, folks? Oof. Anyway, let's continue. We'll get to that in a second.
Newsom on the left coast and on Elizabeth Warren on the East Coast.
Elizabeth Warren. James Talarico won the Texas Senate Democratic primary, defeating Representative Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett will be replaced in her district by Frederick Haynes. By the way, working with Frederick right now on doing something, possibly in Dallas, Texas. As you guys know, we are big fans of Frederick. We are big fans of the Reverend. He is fantastic. He's a phenomenal orator, and he is also going to be another incredible fighter, another Justice Democrat-backed candidate. So it's Tex-Mex time, baby.
Josh got.
Oh, God. Okay, we'll do the Pod Johns. The Pod Johns are in this very funny space because, like, obviously a lot of the stuff that's coming out of the DSA is far too radical for their taste, but they're also, like, somewhat agnostic. Like, I'm like the bridge holding, you know, the commies and the socialists together with the Pod Johns to the best of my ability. And it's like, it's being pulled a lot. Okay. And it's interesting. The Pajans are just glory hounds? No, that's not true. I give them credit where credit is due. They were early on Abdul. Okay? Y'all are crazy. They were early on Abdul. Fairly certain that they were big Zoran guys too. Plus, there's, Tommy and Ben Rhodes, Ben Hamas Rhodes at the Pajans. So there are people within the Pajans universe that are far more radical than John Favreau or John Lovett. Like Abdul literally had a podcast. It's like the Gucci bag. Let it go, man. No, I will never let it go. Dude. You need to understand something, okay? Let me cook. It's worked so far. Let me fucking cook. Okay? I don't know why you guys are literally in this very moment still doubting what I am trying to do. Okay? My position on this is clear. As long as people are not an impediment to change, they can chirp after it's over. Okay? I was a Pod Save gal for a long time. You're definitely a bridge from that universe. I used to listen to the Podjons and Brian Tyler Cohen. The Podjons are redeemable. Yeah. Some very bad people have said that exact same thing. Okay. Look. They say things at times that I vehemently disagree with, like the Daria Lisa criticisms I thought were, I disagree, and I think it's unacceptable. But again, Pajans are far more agnostic, and they maintain a tremendous amount of influence over liberals, and they're far more agnostic to our side than the Neratandans of the world. In many respects, they are the connective tissue between the Neratandans of the world, which many of you understandably oppose and despise for good reason. It's understandable. But this is a multifaceted approach, right? We have to exhaust all readily available options. Yeah. And they were, once again, and I think this is important to recognize, they were big pushers of Abdul from the start, right? Some of them at least. So I'm always going to give them credit. Yeah, no, this is me holding the Podjons in the coalition. Holding the Podjons in one hand and holding the radical left on the other, and just like, no. They're not going to be full-blown socialists or communists or anything like that, okay? It's just not going to happen. But as long as they're not an impediment to further progress, they're not my enemy. I think I have a fairly reasonable approach to this stuff. Maybe it's because it's my approach, so of course I think it's reasonable, but the way I look at it is the same as anything else. There are a lot of villains. There were a lot of villains in American politics, and unlike the tendency of the left, I choose not to go after my closest associates and closest ideological allies, even if we are in opposition at times. But instead, the target-rich audience that is the rest of the political landscape. Okay? My only red line is when they try to rat fuck, which the Podjons never did, not even with Daria Lisa. That's why I got very mad at Progressive Victory and the Track Ukraine account or whatever, right? Because right before this election was taking shape, they came out and they were like, oh, we think your position on Russia is too ambiguous, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? I think that is a red line for me. That's the only red line that I have. If you, right before, yeah, they defended you enough where they could have just ate off these W's. Like my perspective on this is clear. If you don't engage in wrecker behavior, even if you don't, outwardly come out in defense, that's still fine. You might have your disagreements, but you're not an active impediment. I'll give you this. I'll give you an argument. Peltolta, right? Am I saying her name right? Alaska. She's not a progressive. As a matter of fact, she's a fairly conservative Democrat. Peltola, sorry. She's a fairly conservative, run-of-the-mill Democrat. If it came down to the wire and Peltola was the single seat that gave the Democratic Party the majority in the Senate, you think I'm going to be like, well, I don't know about her opinions on this or that. Are you fucking insane? Are you fucking insane? Okay? It's that simple. I've even made the same argument about Adam Schiff, my own fucking senator, right? My own senator. And he sucks. We're going to carry the flame today? You already missed it. I already did carry the flame today. I already did carry the flame today, partner. Hold on, I'm doing something. Sorry for the brief pause. Awkward pause, awkward pause, awkward pause. Hold on, hold on. Dude, I'm getting blown the fuck up. All right. Let's get back to this.
Well as Hassan Piker, the far left firebrand. Here's what he told Fox and said, it's just the beginning. Watch.
I think progressive politics, left populism, a politics that centers the needs of the working class can work in every district, in every state. That's why I kept saying over and over again, it's coming to a city near you.
Okay, Tom, but both you and Hassan actually said a key word in your answers. The word was city, because it's important to note that
I said district and state as well. If you want to think about the words that I was using, you know, I said district, I said state, I said every district. I didn't say just this district. I said every district.
John Hickenlooper, also in Colorado, but in the Senate, which is the entire state primary, actually fended off his progressive far-left challenger. So,
yeah. And I think it's important to recognize what took place there, right? It's important to recognize what took place there, which we are going to be talking about with respect to the Senadora, the campaign that didn't make it last night.
What does that tell you about the real potential for this to grow? Is this just a city thing? Have the states said, we're not going to go so far with a senator? What say you?
Remember in history that the cities are always more liberal than the countryside, but it starts somewhere. So London was more liberal than the countryside, but the Labour Party grew eventually throughout the country. So this is a coming thing within the Democrats that is spiraling a bit. But I'm not saying it's going to be accepted in Indiana tomorrow, but it is a warning sign for the Democrats today as a party. The country sees it on the horizon.
Switching gears to a race involving one of these far leftists. Going to Maine now. A new Fox News poll on the Maine Senate race shows that Susan Collins has a small 3-point advantage over Graham Plattner. But more of Plattner's supporters say they are extremely motivated to vote this November compared to Collins. Tom, you well know you chaired a state Republican Party out there in California. What should the Maine State Republican Party do with that information, with this latest Fox News poll?
Well, remember that Susan Collins has made a living off tight races and seems to win each particular time. This is an off-year presidential election, which tends to favor the...
Mike looked at this poll as bunk. I know. Well, we'll cover it too. It's so strange, by the way, that like Neera Tanden and all of those are like, they're describing Jeet's reverse Mao. Time for a reverse Mao. First take the cities, then the countryside. Okay. You know what's funny about this, by the way? This is literally the Bolsheviks. Like, yeah, this is just called a proletarian revolution, spearheaded by Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, also known as Lenin. So that's not wrong. There's different. Look. There's many ways to skin a cat, right? That's the statement. I've always found that to be a weird thing to say, but that is the descriptive actually existing socialist experiment that led to the USSR. So, Lenin. Hold on. Yeah, it's just any socialist movement in Western Europe of the late 19th and early 20th century. Yeah, the DSA does rely on city activism, not because the cities are more left, but because that's where DSA activists are concentrated. Got to get those numbers up. No, I think the other reason why is also because the cities have better public transit in comparison to rural areas, okay? That is a huge part of this. That's why if you look at the state of California, the places where the DSA was most active was San Francisco until it got fucking eviscerated by the tech neo-feudal overlords, okay? It's density. That's part of the reason. Because, look, the proletarian revolution or revolutionary organizing in the aftermath of the Industrial Revolution took place at the assembly line. When you're packaged together, it's much easier to unlock class consciousness. It's much easier to immediately recognize the antagonism between yourself, your fellow workers, and your bosses, okay? Density is almost a requirement for this kind of organizing to take place. That's part of the reason why, the American working class has never gotten off its, never been able to fully create like a national revolutionary movement or a network. That, and of course, the unlimited barrage of attacks from capital owners. But that's a huge part of it. You have to be around your fellow men and women to recognize how similar your interests are, how similar your class interests are. And that's part of it. It's part of the problem in America. It's really hard to organize in suburbs or especially in rural areas. It's too far apart, too few shared experiences, too much conservative interest in property ownership. Yes. Density is a secondary factor. The big deal was the fucking lecterns who are unironically the 19th century Twitch streamers. Yeah, this is the Pravda, baby. Straight up. In some ways. I mean, I don't take myself that seriously, but it can work. It's just, we have to be the third spaces. We have to build the third spaces, and we have to be the third spaces. We have to get together and congregate and recognize our similarities, no matter how far apart we seem from one another. Okay? That's it. The unfortunate reality for many in the heartland, and especially in the Deep South, is that third space, that place of community, is mega churches led by psychopathic evangelical televangelist pastors, right? And that's probably part of the reason why a lot of that communal organizing in places like that come from the church, and a lot of the people embody the racist attitudes of the church. Okay, this isn't to say all churches are the same. Obviously, they're not, but there are plenty that are fucking crazy. That's it.
Party we know, but interestingly enough, Todd, these races in the city show low turnout among Democrats. So it's possible that the big blue wave isn't really that big because of these low turnouts. But if I'm in Maine, every single vote's going to count. There's no question about it. And people need to understand Graham Plattner's positions in addition to the manner in which he draws art.
Oh, it's great. Yes. Please understand Graham Plattner's positions. Oh my God, Fox News, please, I beg you. Please talk about and expose the nasty positions of Graham Plattner all the time on your broadcast 24/7. That would be so horrible.
On his body.
Sure. Duly noted. Tom, appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you, sir. All right.
All right.
Be sure to like and subscribe. nice to see David out of his suit and his
Radical socialist surge aims to dismantle America, Laura Ingraham says. Let's go.
collar unbuttoned a little bit. All right, President Trump's visit, meanwhile, comes as the socialism surge spreads west. A far-left congressional candidate who called 9/11 and the October 7th attacks on Israel inevitable has knocked out a 29-year incumbent in Colorado. Our chief congressional correspondent, Chad Pergram, is reporting live on the Hill. He's got an update on all of that for us. Hello, Chad.
Sandra, good afternoon. Diana DeGette has served in Congress since 1997, but 29-year-old Milat Kiros beat DeGette in the Colorado primary last night. It's the latest swing to the left by the Democratic Party.
We will not wait! We will not wait to abolish ICE and pass Medicare for all! We will not wait to put an end to the politics of the past, to get big money out of our politics, and to reject corporate tax. And no, we will not wait to end the genocide in Palestine.
Democratic socialists have racked up wins. They knocked off 2 incumbent Democrats in the New York primary last week. The left has a vision for the country which diverges from what mainstream Democrats have pushed for years.
Some progressives that are winning, they're winning on platforms like Medicare for all, universal health care, universal child care, raising the minimum wage. And the reason that Donald Trump has to pivot from saying socialist to saying communist now is because socialism is actually quite popular.
Republicans oppose radical ideas advocated by the left, but in a strange way, the GOP believes this could actually help their party hold the House. Republicans say the progressive agenda frightens the very voters Democrats hope to court.
We're no longer in a battle.
Yes, Premier Jayapal did endorse DeGette quietly, like right before the election. It's okay. She's former head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, had to defend her, former caucus member. It is what it is. It's fine. It's the Premier Jayapal cycle is what they're calling it. Okay?
Between Republicans and Democrats arguing over marginal tax rates or the size of regulation. This election and this year and the arguments and the things that are happening in Congress right now is a contrast between people who love the country and its founding principles and those who have open disdain and hatred for them.
Now, these Democratic socialists will likely win their seats this fall, but the question is if Republicans can nationalize the election. That could make it hard for Democrats to win in swing districts. Sandra?
Chad Pergram live on the Hill there for us. Chad, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's bring in Laura Ingraham, host of the Ingraham Angle. Laura, it's great to have you with us this afternoon.
Great to see you guys.
Thanks for coming
She's my rep. We must primary. Premier Jayapal. Okay, guys. Premier Jayapal is not like Diana DeGette. Okay? Pramila Jayapal, sorry. Like yes, she has, her inconsistencies and whatnot, but that's crazy. Like she's definitely done a lot more as a actual progressive in Congress. What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Like, focus on better targets. There's definitely better priority targets. Instead of Pramila Jayapal. She literally just went to Cuba. You know what I mean? Are you sheepdogging, bro? No, she's not even Pep. She's like been pretty critical of Israel too. Nowhere near as critical as others, but no, we have the momentum, which is why I'm not advocating the primary AOC. I mean, that would be crazy.
In a bit early. So here's how Politico Playbook described Milat Kiros' win over Diana DeGette last night. Quote, PhD student and part-time barista with no political experience taking on a 30-year member of Congress who outraised her 2-1. This socialist red tide was described by many Democrat analysts and specialists who I think were more hopeful than anything. It was described as
as a Palestinian constituent of hers who has personally met with her, I promise you she is not what we need to worry about now, down the road potentially, but not now. Yeah, she's like a fairly responsive and very progressive. Like, guys, she was literally the head of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Like, she actually is a far more progressive than the average congressperson. Remember, grading on a curve, right? Grading on a curve. Grading on a curve.
New York only phenomenon. Clearly,
yeah,
it is
she has
not
the 12th most left voting record amongst like 400 plus people. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
that.
No, I mean, remember in 2009, the Republican Party had its own eruption with the Tea Party. I was at a lot of those events. In 1979, Ronald Reagan shook up the Republican Party from the old guard, and he ended up winning huge, obviously. But this is their moment, and they're not messing around. They want the party to change dramatically from the old Clinton, even Obama era of, you know, a period.
Why not, though? Do you think she would win, or do you think this would have some cost for races elsewhere? Why not getting a better representative where you can get? Do you like her? Or do you think she's good enough? I think people like Pramila are so far above the rest of Congress in terms of their progressive legislative track record that exhausting already unbelievably limited resources on someone like that is insane. Like, I find that kind of stuff to be crazy, because those are the types of people who would already caucus with and have already been caucusing with the existing, former members of the squad. Like, that's someone you don't go after first. That's someone you might not even ever have to go after, as a matter of fact. And certainly you would go after them last. This is the same principle that I maintain when talking about like the ACP or the people on the edges, like people who are more radical than myself, right? I always tell them, like, there's a tremendous opportunity to foment the revolutionary spirit amongst the working class. So why are you wasting your efforts here on those closest to you ideologically, right? Why aren't you going out to the countryside? Why aren't you going out and like trying to convert liberals, right? Like you're doing this here. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of air. It's a waste of energy. Like, there are far better places that you could spread your initiatives to. And it's the same thing. It's like going after people who are not your ideological opponents at all, who have been your allies for their entire, congressional legislative history is ridiculous. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste fucking time and effort trying to primary a congressperson that literally went to Cuba, okay? Amidst the blockade. You're ridiculous. Wake up, grow up. Focus your initiatives elsewhere. Pramila Jayapal is not your enemy, okay? Yeah, we got to primary Bernie Sanders, dude.
At least on the surface, to be more reasonable, not using terms like socialism or things like abolishing ICE. Old Democrats would never say that. They would say either we need a strong border or we got to reform ICE. But they've had enough of that, and they're going for political blood here. And I wouldn't just look to what's happening in Colorado,
getting Adam Smith out before her.
She's in the top
15th percentile of Congress.
Francesca Hong, who I believe also has a decent chance with zero real political experience or real world experience. And so this is their.
What is your real world experience? She's literally from the working class and has political experience as well. You just said that because you don't know anything about her fucking background. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. Plus, guess what? It turns out this whole like political experience nonsense, ironically enough, was already defended on the Republican side. Guess who had no fucking political experience and became the president, and you love him? His name is Donald Trump. That's number one. Number two, another great example of this is someone who had no experience running a city as large as New York City, Zoran Kwame Mamdani. It turns out these kinds of seats are better occupied by those who are green, okay? Those who are occupied by green senators and green congresspersons, green governors, rather than those who have calcified in their lack of interest in making any changes whatsoever. Yeah. Political experience in this day and age is seen as a liability because for the last 3 decades or so, our trajectory has been downward. But Francesca Hong already has political experience on top of everything else. So it's ridiculous.
I think this is their moment. I do agree that Republicans have a massive opportunity to flip this narrative on them and really drive turnout because of what this will mean to our standard of living, our safety, our security, our border, all those basic things that most Americans, just common sense people, think we actually need.
Yeah, flipping that narrative, Laura, great to have you on, is clearly what we're seeing on the part of the White House and the part of the Republican Party. This was some of the interview with J.D. Vance on your show last night. Listen.
It is communism, Laura. This is not, this is not raising taxes a little bit, however much we might disagree with that. This is abolishing the police. This is let criminals run amok in your cities. This is flood your country with low-wage third world immigrants. And importantly, it's confiscating wealth, not because we want to make anybody's life better, but purely out of resentment.
Will Republicans get through to voters with that kind of messaging, Laura?
Oh, I think so. I mean, look, you had Chris Murphy the other day, a senator from my home state of Connecticut, say, well, I might not agree with everything, essentially, but they're bringing a lot of energy to the party, and capitalism really hasn't worked in many ways for many people. I say to my old Connecticut Yankees, Colt Manufacturing, Pratt Whitney Aircraft, Electric Boat, Sikorsky, Otis Elevator, all the great manufacturing history of Connecticut. Now all the hedge funders and all the private equity guys who commute in from New York and live in Greenwich, are they ready to have their wealth confiscated and the end of capitalism? How is that going to work out for Connecticut? So I think in the end, a lot of Democrats may think, oh, this is great energy, but in the end, people vote with their feet. They're going to leave a lot of these jurisdictions, and this will be a short-lived phenomenon that I think could actually propel the Republicans to victories they might otherwise have really had to fight for.
Yeah, capitalism hasn't worked for some people, but socialism hasn't worked for anyone.
Anyone. Thank you, John.
There's always that choice as well. Hey, so again, this was seen as a New York-only phenomenon, but take a look at this. The number of far-left candidates who have won primary elections this year. I mean, that's enough to fill up a wall. That is a full 28-member MLB team roster. And what's interesting is that, back in the 1960s, there was a socialist surge, but no overtly socialist candidates ever were elected to Congress. This time around, things are far different because these people really want to shape the Democratic agenda.
Yeah, and I think the difference between like the 70s, where you had a lot of these anti-American movements crop up across the country, and a lot of them were supported by the old Soviet Union, remember. There was a lot of influx of support there. But you're right, John. I think now there's such a deeply embedded sense of anti-Americanism that has been inculcated in our schools. That has really had a profound effect. Republicans have been talking about school choice and revamping education for years, but the left's stranglehold on our public schools, many of our private institutions, our universities, then the influx of immigrants. A lot of these candidates are
God damn.
New, are either the children of new immigrants, like of course from Ethiopia.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This socialism shit is all immigrants. Why is Adam Homowy black and white, by the way? Incredible. Thank you, Fox News, for doing the damn thing once again. Oh, this socialism stuff. The people that are actively fighting to make sure that you have public housing, housing for all, Medicare for all, those are all bad. They're all immigrants. Also, Frederick Douglass Haynes III and Charles Booker being plastered on this alongside Chris Rabb as children of immigrants kind of gives the game away, don't you think? Really? Multiple generations of living on U.S. soil, descendants of slaves in this country that were stolen from their ancestral homelands and brought here by force. And then you just say that they're also immigrants. It's like, first generation immigrants. Interesting. Like, What a strange thing to say about black Americans, huh? I wonder what you mean when you say immigrants. It's also very funny to put fucking Bob Brooks on there and Brian Poindexter and Graham Plattner. Like, it's like, really, those guys, those are the foreign born. Those are the foreign born immigrants that are ushering in an era of communism in this country. Very cool.
Ethiopia or Uganda with Mamdani, Ethiopia with Kiros. So they come to this country, and it's not like the old days. You're like, you come here to love the country. You come here to be American. You come here to dismantle America. That's what's new here. And that's what the Republicans really have to work on next, which is a complete educational renewal and restoration about the greatness of this country with a clear look of, our ups and downs of history, our mistakes. But if you teach kids to hate the country and hate capitalism, that's not going to end well for America.
And clearly, Democrats have some work to do, Laura, when it comes to finding out who is the leader of their party or who they want to be the leader of their party. Axios, with this headline, Harris reaches out to Mamdani, pro-Palestinian activist and run up to 2028. Harris and her team have also been reaching out to pro-Palestinian activists during the past year, including at least one who helped lead the Uncommitted movement, which grew out of opposition to former President Biden's policy on the war in Gaza. Is Kamala Harris making a comeback?
No, Kamala Harris is being Kamala Harris. I mean, she's never had an original idea in her life. She's always blown with the wind. There's no philosophical underpinning of the woman who is Kamala Harris. She was a creation out of San Francisco politics, and she rode a wave. And she rode a wave to the White House as vice president, was a disastrous vice president, was even a more disastrous.
I'm not saying anything, but I mean, clocking it a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. Just clocking her fucking tea a little bit, okay?
Disastrous presidential candidate, and she's still trying to babble her way through interviews. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I think the Democrats should go all in. Nominate AOC in 2028, and let's have this argument once and for all. Freedom and capitalism and American sovereignty, or socialism and redistribution and open borders.
All the good things or all the bad things. Just say what. Okay, I'm not. We're not bringing this back. We're not bringing this back. We're not bringing this back.
Damn, this guy's good.